So today I'm going to be talking about 10 fragrances that I feel need a little bit more hype, need a little bit more love. Maybe they had a short stint of a hype or a talk about from people, but I don't feel it gets enough love out there for the type of quality fragrances that they are, at least in my opinion. Let's roll my motherfucking music so I can put you onto 10 sleeper style fragrances that need a little bit more hype. We're all alone. In case you cared, out of all your friends, I want to be Cuba. Blessed morning, my beautiful peoples. You know who it is. This is your boy, C to the U to the B to the A. These are some nice ass fragrances that maybe people have talked about for about 10 seconds at a time and then completely disregarded or forgot about. I think all of these are quality. I don't think any of these are true shit. Might not be everybody's cup of tea, but they're definitely fire. The first fragrance I'm gonna pick out is masterpiece, dare I say, phenomenal. One of the grail ones that I wanted to get this year. It just smells so good. Haven't heard anybody say that it doesn't smell good. Even the ultimate hater Ja was like, yeah, home run. This is just it. And this is by the house of Serge Lutens, and that's FILLE and AIGUILLES. I could just sit with this like a respirator under my nose all day and just live life. Now I'll give you guys the note breakdown again because it's interesting that this note breakdown would feel sexy and warm. They don't mesh as far as the note breakdown. It's something that you have to smell. And I don't know if, unless you're like a real brainiac when it comes to fragrance, you can really compose and put together what this smells like. So it's pine, incense, dried fruit, balsam fir, spices, bay leaves, and vetiver. Now that dry fruit and pine combination may scare people. They automatically think of a funky yellow cab back in the day smelling like taxi cab air freshener. I promise you it doesn't smell that way. This is a masterpiece. It's blended like a symphonic melody composed by a master. This is just elegant and sexy, but isn't a mass appeal monster. This has more of an artistic flair, but doesn't negate the fact that it's just incredible. People may not be talking about it because one, it is quite difficult to get. It is not an inexpensive fragrance, but the artistry and sexiness that I get from this, not to mention that warm, dried apricotish fruit, a little bit of a prune action mixed with that fir balsam and then that smoky incense. I don't know how this isn't on people's 10 list. Like, this needs to be talked about more so it can be in those 10 lists. I think it's a gorgeous fragrance. At least sample it if you can find it. Next one. When it comes to rose fragrances, this one had a nice stint. This is one of the ones that had a short hype for a minute and then people forgot about it, but I didn't forget because it's one of the prettiest rose fragrances that's so well balanced to keep you in that unisex line, even lean a little bit more masculine than I thought, and really deserves to continued hype because it's that good. And that's by Zaharoff, and that's Signature Rose. There's like 48 different types of roses out here, shit that I didn't even know existed, but the rosy oud combination in here is not your traditional rose oud. It has elements of it, however, there's a bit of freshness in here and spiciness. The oud in here smells very wearable and non-animalic or fecal, and the floral sweetness and slight vanillic nuance in this fragrance with a little bit of a spice adds a sex appeal, like a freshness of florals that you wouldn't anticipate dudes to wear. But this shit is fire for the dudes that are really in that space. You have to smell this. Like, it's such a good floral dude fragrance that people need to continue to keep in their list. Like, if you're going to make a rose list and this is not in that top whatever, you sleeping and you really haven't tried it or worn it. This is very good. Zaharoff Signature Rose, stellar. Needs more hype. Next one. If you're into mint fragrances, this is up there with easily one of my top 10. I'll go as far as to say maybe even in my top 5. Definitely needs more hype. And this is Etat Libres d'Orange, You or Someone Like You. I've had this on several lists and I still don't know how people ain't catching on. The mintiness in here is so proper, so fresh, so amazing in the hot weather. Citrusy, it's minty, there's a bit of a sour note in there. I think it's from like a pomelo or something like that, because there's a proper sweetness, a proper red juiciness, a great crust cocktail of mint and fizziness. Stellar mint fragrance. Awesome for the hot weather. Doesn't have much versatility as far as seasons is concerned, but when it comes to fresh, sparkling, citric mint, poof, next one. Next fragrance I pulled out the other day and I was loving every second wearing this fragrance. This is probably one that nobody has talked about, barely anybody probably purchased, but it's by the brand of Confessions of a Rebel, and this one's called Almost Single. And if I keep spending money on fragrance, guess this title will really reign true at home. This is predominantly an iris-based fragrance, aka powdery makeup bag kind of, but not really. There's so much freshness here, and the iris in here is so well done that I'm shocked that nobody has really tried this out and really felt it as an affordable, freshy iris fragrance. That's super fun. Notes on this fragrance are cardamom, sandalwood, iris, black pepper, clary sage, and rosemary. It's got decent performance on it for a fresher style fragrance, but it isn't a boring traditional DNA. It has a bit of funness in here. And this is the Action Park of fragrances. Really fun to wear, but might kill you when you jump off a fucking 30-foot slide. That was the craziest park in the world. They had to shut it down because people were consistently either getting hurt or dying. Well, this is that kind of fun. It's a little naughty, it's a little fun, it's got decent performance, it's very out there kind of, oh, I'm ready to mingle and touch some nipples randomly, possibly get arrested. Who knows? Confessions of a Rebel, Almost Single. If they have samples, try it out, see how fun it is. Then you'll understand why I need some hype. Next one. Mineral manliness is what I'm gonna call this fragrance. Maybe people have talked about it, maybe not. I think it needs a little bit more hype because when it comes to that mineral, manly, gunpowder vibes, if you're not talking about Xerjoff the Don, don't talk to me. Man, I just sprouted 7 ass hairs and my ball hairs just turned gray. I want to jump on the back of a motorcycle with saddlebags, assless chaps, and a leather vest, get extra tattoos, and baby oil myself so I can feel like a fucking man. It's wet concrete, it's gun smoke, gunpowder, mineral, citric, different, sexy. How is it sexy with all that shit? It just smells like a rustic animal, right? No, it smells like a dapper dawn in a bottle. Very slept on. I think this is like a killer masculine fragrance with phenomenal performance and unique likability. Next one. So I'm gonna read you the notes to this next fragrance because I know this doesn't get talked about. This is composed of labdanum, pink pepper, juniper berry, pine trees, neroli, incense, Indian oud patchouli, vetiver, sandalwood, orris, jasmine, Cambodian oud, caramel, raspberry, musk, and vanilla. A fuckload of notes, but let it marinate. It also has an essence that I don't think it's listed here from what I'm looking at. No, of amber. There's this ambery caramel smokiness about this fragrance on the opening. And then when it melodically moves down into the mid, that pine really adds this herbaceous quality about it that isn't overbearing or clawing as far as greenery and medicinal kind of sharp herbal notes. It's very subliminal, but present too. Then at that base, the oud is always living there with that raspberry musky vanilla vibe. And this is by the house of Renier Parfums, and this one is called CACIQUE. This shit is dumb. I had sprayed it already here. I'm gonna just do a respray just so I can get the vibe. Yeah, the oud here is actually popping really crazy off paper. And it also smells like a can of coffee grounds. An empty can of Bustelo is lingering in here, mixed with grandma's cellophane wrapped caramels in the bottom of her purse. The raspberry and vanillic notes are really popping off of paper. And I do get stems, like I got little flecks of amber up in here. This is crazy. It performs nuts off the skin. Nuts, like 10 plus hours. Fucking wild. Another fragrance that, if you want artistic complexity with some performance and deliciousness, talk about this shit. It's very good, not cheap, but very nice. Next one. I'm never the one to say that a fragrance is too cheap. I mean, give it to me at free $99 if possible. If it can cost $1 and smell like it should be $1 million, sold. Now this fragrance is quite cheap for what it is. I've mentioned this fragrance in a few lists because it's that good for a designer brand. Like, this designer is a little bit out there, a little bit kooky. I can't afford any of their clothes, and this bottle looks kind of wild, but it's a great fragrance, and that's by Philip Plein, and that's No Limits. Fuckload of notes as well, but essentially it's this leathery tobacco and incensey vanillic fragrance that should smell like a $200 bottle. If I'm gonna be completely honest with you, the composition in here has this crazy sex appeal and this wild masculinity about it that really deserves more burn. I think there's a few people that have hyped this fragrance, and there is little talks here and there whenever I do a fragrance, people comment like, yeah, that shit is really fire. It really is and should be on more people's list. I think it works phenomenally well on my skin. The performance factor is stellar, and it's a beautiful masculine fragrance in a funky looking ass bottle. I mean, it needs a little bit more hype train. Pass me the Metro card. Next one. Spice, spice, baby. Dum, 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 dum. This needs to be talked about a little bit more because it's an amouage fragrance. So when you hear amouage, you hear power, performance, longevity, sillage. These motherfuckers make animal fragrances, and this one is a spicy meatball. Journeyman. Sichuan pepper and tabaco? Traigo la contra. Para la maravilla. Yeah! Yo, this is fire. Super good, spicy, incensey, a bomb. Be easy with the trigger, cause the shit can get crazy. But on top of the tobacco and incense, just throw in some gin. A little gin action in here. Let's get boozy. Let's drink a gin and tonic. Let's smoke a cigarette. Let's live in the smoke. And let it be a vibe. You're in a basement jazz club, either smoking a cigar or a cigarette. Preferably a cigar. I don't know, Cohiba, let's throw it in there. Smoking, listening to a vibe, feeling some type of way, wearing something a little spicy on top, or eating like a nice pepper steak. So you're sitting in the smoke, eating a pepper steak, listening to some jazz music while smoking a cigar, and you got a combination of that in this. Slept on, I think a little bit. I think it's solid, and it's not that hard to find at a decent price either. So you got performance, sex appeal, under low, sleepy, undercover, and delicious. Next one. This fragrance was so cheap at some point. I don't even know what the price points is lately, but it used to be in the space of under $30, which was wild because the fragrance house is stellar. And this one is so unique and delicious that this was like my white t-shirt signature scent for I don't know how long. And that's by the house of Cologne, and that's the Ideal Cologne from the L'Homme line. All I can say about this fragrance is citric almond. Vanillic citric almond. Smooth, buttery. Almond butter. Let's throw that in there. Almond butter with a little citric zest on top of I have no idea what, because I am not a chef. All I can do is cook meat. Pause. Unless you try this, you don't know. Signature scent worthy. Although it's catered to warmer weather, I don't care. I would wear this there's nothing offensive about it. Beautiful, unique qualities, will not break the bank, and deserves a lot of hype. It's great, especially for the price. Well, at least the price that it was. It's really still good. More hype train, please. Pass me a token. This one, probably nobody's heard of or talked about. This is actually by a store. A store made this, and that store is in Philly. It's Perfumology. This fragrance, nobody's talked about. I bet you anything, nobody has talked about it. Or if they have, it's 4 people max. Gorgeous fragrance. Floral, also minty, but with notes of like tomato leaf in here. Let me give you a breakdown. Mint, lemon, pomelo, tomato leaf, lemon, verbena, orange, lily, geranium, orris root, neroli, rose, musk mallow, elemi, cardamom, copaiba balm, cashmere musk, white musk, amber, and sandalwood. And this is by Perfumology, and this one's Le Ima. I think it means grandma, I think it was, or mom, grandma, something like that. Such a nice, fresh fragrance. The mint here is subtle, but available. But the fresh ambery vibes of this is so unique and very nice that it just drives me nuts. Like whenever I wore this joint, it was just, let's just go. Let's live like pomelo. Pomelo's popping up right now. I do get hints of neroli, which is kind of giving me a little eye twitch, especially on this corner. It might be a stroke, who knows? But it's also relaxing, elegant, soft. I think it does mean grandmother because I can get the comforting factor from it. Such a nice fragrance. Very well done. You know, moderately inexpensive. I believe it's in the $100 space, maybe cheaper, who knows? But something like this, when you can spend $100 on some designer bullshit that smells like it's $19.95 to get this beautiful composition in a bottle, it's like smoking some chill weed. It's fucking nice. Very, very nice. Whew. Let me tell you, bro. This list, I gotta pat myself on the back. These are sleepers, bro. There's a lot of fragrances in here that need a little bit more attention, a little bit more love, because I promise you that there's some unique, sexy gems in this list that you need to tap into. I love y'all motherfuckers from the heart. Let me know which one of these is in your collection or which one of these you thought about getting, and I'll see y'all bitches next time. You know who it is, biggest in the game. Smooches.
Cubaknow, what's fresh, who's best? One of them's gonna pass the test. Cubaknow.
For the fly gun holder, money folder, motor roller, start tag when it's time to call back. For the rough, rugged, and raw way, this nigga Jay, it's a game, but he don't play. Hey, for all the chicks that got dead in the penthouse suite on top of my mom's crib. It's nonsense you never get in. It's nonsense that you would think that you would.